What's going on, everybody? This is going to be a little bit different to a somewhat rapid reaction, obviously, to the Jusuf Nurkic injury. Tonight, I'm recording this 11:30 after the game, after the show. Just mostly because I got a lot of questions, as you would expect. What Portland could look to do, how things could shake out. I'm not really speculating on the injury per se, but there's a lot of different paths this could go. First of all, this sucks. It sucks. From my own selfish point of view, Josh and I had to go on air when Nurk broke his leg. That's still the most ridiculous, hardest thing I think I've done, doing this whole media thing. Obviously, long story short, I've gone through my own gruesome injuries, and you never want to see that happen to anybody else. But the flip side of this stuff, and this is a less serious injury, but I feel bad for Nurk just because of all of the other stuff surrounding this: COVID, his grandmother passing, coming back from the leg injury, just another roadblock. The mentally challenging, taxing part of this is I think what's going to be difficult. But from the basketball side of things, that gives at least me a little bit of a distraction in that regard. So I'm going to dive into some of that stuff here real quick. Well, maybe not real quick, but quick enough. Where do the Blazers go from here, right? Terry Stotts addressed it head-on in the post-game press conference. Strong likelihood that Enes Kanter gets a chance to roll into those starter minutes. The Blazers are familiar with with Enes Kanter in that slot. They can cover up for deficiencies, I think, with Derrick Jones Jr., with Robert Covington. Enough so to make Kanter probably work. The defense probably goes back to a pretty simple drop coverage, especially during the regular season. Go with consistency, and then you just rely on maybe, the other four guys maybe gambling from time to time, trying to generate some points, trying to generate some turnovers. I had a breakdown video that I was going to do that was focused on Portland's style of play so far, because we haven't really hit on that a lot so far this year. And Portland is playing so fast, getting up so many threes. I think that has put some strain on their defense, enough so that even like a healthy Jusuf Nurkic was having trouble covering that up. So they may just lean entirely into the offense at this point. And Kanter can provide that. Great screener and roll guy. Last check, he was the 90th plus percentile as a post-up. Portland's been really good on the offensive glass, especially with him on the board, obviously. Their ability to convert on offensive rebounds is really high right now. He's plug and play. Harry Giles is probably going to get some minutes. Stotts addressed that as well. Will they start Giles and kind of give him the token Noah Vonleh treatment and roll out Kanter for 30 a night kind of a deal? Maybe you see Robert Covington slide up to the 5, or Derrick Jones Jr., however you want to put it. You probably do Jones Jr. offensively and Covington defensively, just to give yourself a little bit more size. I don't think Stotts will do that with any of the starting or true bench lineups, but there's certainly an element of, well, let's go ahead and give this a try, as it pertains to just trying different things out while I try to figure this out. And here's where it gets obviously a little bit dicey. With Jusuf Nurkic's injury, this could be a couple weeks. I believe Cat had a similar injury and was back. I want to say when it was 2 or 3 weeks. So this may be much ado about nothing in grand scheme of things. Obviously, for Nurk, for the love of God, you just want him to stay healthy, right? I mean, it's just, but Portland can figure that part of it out, and it's just, that's the kind of thing you deal with during regular season. having Collins healthy here would certainly help them depth-wise, but now they're down 2 guys, like 2 dudes, 2 like legit bodies. That depth is disappearing, and if it's serious enough that it requires surgery, hell, even if it requires him to miss 20 games and no surgery because of the compressed schedule and because how fast games are coming, does Portland make a move? Do they use one of their young guys? Do they trade a Nas? Do they trade an Ant? I mean, there's a lot of different ways they could go. They can't move some of these guys until mid-February. If it's a longer period of time that Nurk is out, they're kind of stuck with what they can do as far as the tax line. And if it ends up, worst case scenario, obviously, being more serious, and like, I mean, this isn't me saying I think it is or whatever. This is the scary door. Does this push them far enough out that they think about doing the drastic? And that's wholesaling guys, reshaping the team. And that's the trade CJ, trade Nurk, trade Collins. Everybody's fair game. It's not necessarily a fire sale, but you're making some very significant changes. I don't think we're near that point. Nurk would probably have to miss about 35, 40 games to even consider that. And Portland would have to struggle. So what is it that they do now? Stotts again in the postgame didn't really run from this. Not that he would, but he said flat out him and Neil Olshey would get together in the morning and they would talk about what they need to do, what they're gonna do. And I think that kind of implies, at least a little bit, if you're trying to read the tea leaves, that they need some bodies now. That wing depth, it's not there. Hood is the elephant in the room. He's almost unplayable at this point. He's just a shell of himself, and it sucks. It sucks something fierce. You're not going to hear anybody say anything sideways about Hoodie because he was playing probably, if not the best ball of his career, his most efficient ball of his career when he ruptured the Achilles. And so he was painted in this fantastic light coming off the Denver series. There's a little bit of a mini statue being built in his honor with the way he was playing and having a little bit of a legend around him. But without him, they get thinner at that wing spot too. You can't slide somebody else over. Then you get a little bit smaller. You lose a little bit of firepower. You lose a little bit of length. And so even if he's healthy, quote unquote, he's not healthy. He's not who he used to be. And not to be a complete jerk, he's also not tradable until mid-February. So that's $10 million you can't touch. I've liked what I've seen from Jones Jr. I've liked what I've seen from Covington. I think they can step in and fill some roles here. My dreaded nightmare may come true where they may have to rely on Melo more and lean completely into the offense. I think that's going to be a likely scenario anyways. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what they end up doing in that regard. But come full circle back to personnel. If they do look at adding, who are the guys they could legitimately target? And I hinted at it at least a little bit jokingly with Whiteside. I definitely don't want to see that, not in the least bit. You've got guys like Mo Bamba, you've got Nerlens Noel, but again, I don't think you're talking about. I mean, with the exception of Noel, I don't think you're talking about established guys. Maybe JaVale McGee. Cleveland has 80 gajillion centers, and the Pistons have the rest of them. And I don't think Portland's going to go crazy and go for a guy like Andre Drummond. Obviously, the cash necessary to do something like that doesn't make any sense. So I think you're looking for more middling guys. I think you're looking at the JaVale McGee's, Kem Birch's, Mo Bamba's, Nerlens Noel, disgruntled maybe players that you're looking for bench support. Hopefully, you don't have Neil trying to kick the tires on Festus or Powell, who have both hinted at maybe something. Festus is trying to make a little bit of a run in the G League. I think that ship has long sailed. Hell, they may still be paying him. They got off him finally. So, God. Basically, what I'm getting at is it's dark days ahead as far as options outside of what's already on the roster, especially as it pertains to this team right now and their doggedness in avoiding the luxury tax. And for those that are unaware, the reason they're avoiding the luxury tax is because if they hit it this year, they're in repeater territory. And with the way salaries are structured going forward, it would be detrimental to this team and their ability to build a roster if they're getting hit with that repeater tax as things are currently constructed, which is why I've kind of believe that they're going to make a move at the deadline anyways. Not entirely buying that Kanter Giles is going to be enough, right? I mean, we're basically 2 years removed from Kanter carrying the team through Nurkic's injury, right? That's what, March? It was March 18th, I want to say, when Nurk broke it in 2019. So, God, it's crazy to think about. Kanter has to be covered up for. So, how much are you catering to that? How much are you catering to that bench unit? And, God, my guys all struggled tonight off that bench unit. Does this force them to restructure things? Do they get really weird and start Melo and Giles and then put a little bit of defense on the bench and move DJ to the bench or something along those? I don't get. These are the thoughts that I'm just kind of rolling through my head right now as far as what they could do. Stotts has done some weird things in the past. Where he's pulled a deep bench guy and moved him up as a starter, which I could see him doing with Giles. He's also gone with guys he's very familiar with. And early in seasons before, he's gone full crazy professor and really switched some things up and played with some lineups. So it's kind of hard for me to figure out exactly or predict exactly what they're going to do. I would say that they probably need a body there. At bare minimum, they need a body. They do have an open two-way spot. If they made a move for somebody, I'm going to use Collins in this regard because I think it's the easiest plug-and-play salary where you could get somebody of consequence at least. And the reason I say they could move Collins, even though he's injured, some team, it just takes one, with a spare big, could see it as a flyer. They could think of him as a late first-round pick instead of the pick that they want. Maybe some of that team out there has got a guy who's malcontent. Shout out Mo Bamba. And they want to swap malcontent for injury prone. You never know. Dwayne Dedman, I don't know. Is he still out there somewhere floating in space? But it's difficult to find a good fit. And especially, I know a lot of people are going to be, well, they could just kind of wait until the buyout market. Well, the buyout market's still a ways away. Not just that. How many guys are going to want to come to an uncertain center rotation in Portland? It took some serious convincing to get Enes Kanter when he originally came to Portland. He was basically committed to Boston. It was a last-second, switch when there was guaranteed minutes. Hey, you're going to get 20-ish plus minutes, and you are going to play night in, night out, and you will be kind of a featured bench big role. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case unless somebody shakes free that demands that, and then if it does happen and Nurk comes back, now you're in a weird spot again, and Kanter's not playing, or you've got somebody else you've got to keep a promise to. I'm not too fan of those, or I'm not too fond of those. But yeah, it's kind of reset here. Obviously, it's not good. We won't know until full MRI, X-ray, doctor visit whether or not it's going to be an extended period of time that Nurk's going to be out. Jeff Stotts, no relation to Terry, but on Twitter at In Street Clothes, basically said that normal 82-game season it is 16 games, the average amount of time missed based on the injury that was reported for Jusuf Nurkic. And that can go up to 35 if that requires surgery. So if we do some rough math, that 16 probably goes up to 20-ish plus games. And I'm sorry, it was 32 games originally. And so it would probably go up to about 36 games, maybe a little bit more, depending on how compressed the schedule is. If there's any complications, return to play, that kind of stuff. As it pertains to Nurk getting back on the floor. And we're at game 12 right now. So if he misses the next 20 games, that would put them at game 32, which is, do the math, 72-game season, essentially the halfway point. Basically missing a third of the season. Not good. And that's on the good side, right? On the bad side, twice that long, more than half the season, basically, and trying to get back in. And he can run, so he'll be able to at least stay in shape, but it's not game shape, and so you gotta kind of fight through that again. So up and down, you have something that sucks pretty hard. And again, your options right now are try to find a cheap body that you move a bottom of the roster asset for. You go up each level, and because Collins isn't healthy, obviously if he was healthy right now, you could use him as as an actual big. But perhaps he becomes available. Do they just try to weather the storm and stay afloat, get ready, gear up for, try and stay in playoff contention and figure it out? Or do they do something more drastic? So I can't remember. Somebody sent it to me in the Slack channel. Something wild. If Oladipo doesn't want to be in Houston, which is kind of rumored, Portland looks at a combination of, Oladipo, Tucker, and Cousins for CJ. And again, I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying that's the wild. That's the swing for the fences. This is the year kind of thing. And before everybody gets all insane about, oh, CJ's playing great, I'm not saying do this. I'm just throwing this out there as this would be like, if this injury to Nurkic, if it was bad enough, if it caused Portland to reevaluate where they are right now and where they are going forward and how they would possibly look to reset. That's your mystery door. The severity of this injury and how long Nurk is out could vastly change how this team goes about business over the next 6 weeks. And I really hope it's good news. Like I said, we're recording here late after the game. It's almost midnight now, so I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I'll have another podcast up. I'll record again probably Sunday night after we have a little bit more information. But I just wanted to get this one out here just because, like I said, had a lot of questions. Wanted to get some thoughts down. I wasn't going to sleep anytime soon. These kind of nights always suck, especially when you're talking about Nurk, who's been through so much already. So if you got questions, if you got comments, please send them to me, DM on Twitter, at Danny Meringue. Or just at me. It's fine. And then we'll kind of roll back and kind of review some of these thoughts again on Sunday. I'll see if I can grab somebody short notice to see if we can get a better idea of how things may look going forward. And then we'll touch back again. Thanks for listening, folks. As always, do all the podcast stuff, like, rate, review, all that kind of thing. Sorry, I'm not bringing the energy tonight. It's just it's a real kick in the pants, and just felt like I needed to get a few things out here and I don't know, figure it out from there. Until next time, which will be just a few days. I'll catch you guys then. Thanks for listening, and talk to you soon. Bye.